In the 1970s, U.S. congressional investigations exposed former CIA plots to assassinate Cuban dictator Fidel Castro. Former CIA Director John McCone was asked about these plots but denied any knowledge of them, stating,
CIA officials withheld the information from me. I have never been satisfied as to why they withheld the information.
however, a now declassified CIA report, which I will show you, states McCone had been informed about the CIA mafia plots to assassinate Castro 9 months before McCone's testimony before the President's Commission on the Assassination of President Kennedy, commonly known as the Warren Commission. CIA Director John McCone was long suspected of withholding information from the Warren Commission, the official body investigating the John F. Kennedy assassination in 1963. The CIA admits in a declassified report that McCone did withhold information. John McCone came to the CIA as an outsider. An industrialist and an engineer by training, he replaced veteran spy master Allen Dulles as Director of Central Intelligence in November 1961 after President Kennedy had forced Dulles out following the bungled operation to oust Fidel Castro by invading Cuba's Bay of Pigs. McCone had one overriding mission: restore order at the besieged CIA. Kennedy hoped McCone's management skills might prevent a future debacle, even if the Californian faced a steep learning curve. McCone was mostly a stranger to the clubby, blue-blooded world of the men like Dulles who had always run the spy agency. After JFK's assassination in Dallas in November 1963, President Johnson kept McCone in place at the CIA, and he became an important witness before the Warren Commission, the panel Johnson created to investigate Kennedy's murder. McCone pledged full cooperation with the commission, which was led by Chief Justice Earl Warren, and testified that the CIA had no evidence to suggest that Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin, was part of any conspiracy, foreign or domestic. In its final report, the Commission came to agree with McCone's depiction of Oswald, a former Marine and self-proclaimed Marxist, as a delusional lone wolf. But half a century after JFK's death, in a once-secret report written in 2013 by the CIA's top in-house historian and later quietly declassified, the spy agency acknowledged what others were convinced of long ago: that McCone and other senior CIA officials were complicit in keeping incendiary information from the Warren Commission. According to the report by CIA historian David Robarge, McCone, who died in 1991, was at the heart of a benign cover-up at the spy agency intended to keep the commission focused on what the agency believed at the time was the best truth: that Lee Harvey Oswald, for as yet undetermined motives, had acted alone in killing John Kennedy. The most important information that McCone withheld from the Commission in its 1964 investigation, the report found, was the existence for years of CIA plots to assassinate Castro, some of which were in cahoots with the Mafia. Without this information, the Commission never even knew to ask the question of whether Oswald had accomplices in Cuba or elsewhere who wanted Kennedy dead in retaliation for the Castro plots. While raising no question about the essential findings of the Warren Commission, including that Oswald was the gunman in Dallas, the 2013 CIA report is important because it is essentially an official CIA acknowledgement, half a century after the fact, of impropriety in the agency's dealings with the Commission. The cover-up by McCone and others may have been benign, in the report's words, but it was a cover-up nonetheless, denying information to the Commission that might have prompted a more aggressive investigation of Oswald's potential Cuba ties. Robarch's report was originally published as an article in the CIA's classified internal journal, Studies in Intelligence, in September 2013, a journal, by the way, that I am published in. The CIA said it decided to declassify the report to highlight misconceptions about the CIA's connection to JFK's assassination, including the still popular conspiracy theory that the spy agency was somehow behind the assassination. Robarch's article says that McCone quickly convinced after the assassination that Oswald had acted alone and that there was no foreign conspiracy involving Cuba or the Soviet Union, directed the agency to provide only passive, reactive, and selective assistance to the Warren Commission. This portrait of McCone suggests that he was much more hands-on in the CIA's dealings with the Commission and in the agency's post-assassination scrutiny of Oswald's past than had previously been known. The report offers no conclusion about McCone's motivations, including the question of why he would go to lengths to cover up CIA activities that mostly predated his time at the agency. But it suggests that the Johnson White House might have directed McCone to hide the information. McCone shared the administration's interest in avoiding disclosures about covert actions that would circumstantially implicate the CIA in conspiracy theories and possibly lead to calls for a tough U.S. response against the perpetrators of the assassination, the article says. If the Commission did not know to ask about covert operations against Cuba, McCone was not going to give them any suggestions about where to look. The report identifies other tantalizing information that McCone did not reveal to the Commission, including evidence that the CIA might somehow have been in communication with Oswald before 1963, and that the spy agency had secretly monitored Oswald's mail after he attempted to defect to the Soviet Union in 1959. In the 1970s, when congressional investigations exposed the Castro plots, members of the Warren Commission and its staff expressed outrage that they had been denied the information in 1964. Had they known about the plots, they said, the Commission would have been much more aggressive in trying to determine if JFK's murder was an act of retaliation by Castro or his supporters. Weeks before the assassination, Oswald traveled to Mexico City and met there with spies for the Cuban and Soviet governments, a trip that CIA and FBI officials have long acknowledged was never adequately investigated. In congressional testimony in 1978, after public disclosures about the Castro plots, McCone claimed that he could not have shared information about the plots with the Warren Commission in 1964 because he was ignorant of the plots at the time. Other CIA officials withheld the information from me, he said. I have never been satisfied as to why they withheld the information. But the 2013 CIA report concluded that McCone's testimony was neither frank nor accurate, since it later determined with certainty that he had been informed about the CIA mafia plots 9 months before his appearance before the Warren Commission. Robarge suggests the CIA is responsible for some of the harsh criticism commonly leveled at the Warren Commission for large gaps in its investigation of the president's murder, including its failure to identify Oswald's motive in the assassination and to pursue evidence that might have tied Oswald to accomplices outside the U.S. The decision of McCone and agency leaders in 1964 not to disclose information about CIA's anti-Castro schemes might have done more to undermine the credibility of the commission than anything else that happened while it was conducting its investigation, the report says. In that sense, and in that sense alone, McCone may be regarded as a co-conspirator in the JFK assassination cover-up. If there was indeed a CIA cover-up, a member of the Warren Commission was apparently in on it. Allen Dulles, McCone's predecessor, who ran the CIA when the spy agency hatched the plots to kill Castro. McCone does not appear to have any explicit special understanding with Allen Dulles, the 2013 report says. Still, McCone could rest assured that his predecessor would keep a dutiful watch over agency equities and work to keep the commission from pursuing provocative lines of investigation, such as lethal anti-Castro covert actions. President Johnson had appointed Dulles to the commission at the recommendation of then Attorney General Robert Kennedy. The 2013 report also draws attention to the contacts between McCone and Robert Kennedy in the days after the assassination. In the wake of the Bay of Pigs disaster in 1961, the Attorney General was asked by his brother, the President, to direct the administration's secret war against Castro, and Robert Kennedy's friends and family acknowledged years later that he never stopped fearing that Castro was behind his brother's death. McCone had frequent contact with Robert Kennedy during the painful days after the assassination, the report says. Their communication appears to have been verbal, informal, and evidently, in McCone's estimation, highly personal. No memoranda or transcripts exist or are known to have been made. Because Robert Kennedy had overseen the agency's anti-Castro covert actions, including some of the assassination plans, his dealings with McCone about his brother's murder had a special gravity, the report continues. In conclusion, the declassification of the bulk of the 2013 McCone report is welcome. At the same time, there are 15 places in the public version of the report where the CIA has deleted sensitive information, sometimes individual names, sometimes whole sentences. It is an acknowledgement, therefore, that there are still secrets about the Kennedy assassination hidden in the agency's files.